Good evening. My name is Ernestine Chami Janko, and welcome to A Day for Autism Live. I started this organization because of my own son. Back in 1990, I gave birth to a son. He's now 28 years old, named Sean. When Sean was born, no problem was detected. We had no issue with his birth, normal birth, and all the doctors gave us a thumbs up. But around 3 years old, he fell. We were seeing some little delays here and there. He toilet trained late. He spoke really late. He did not speak until maybe around 5 years old. And even speaking was not like me and you. All the word kind of like slowly disappeared. That was a call for concern between the doctors, the audiologists, the neurologists, because back then we as parents did not know what was going on, what was happening to our children, why our child could not talk, why our child could not express himself, why he was still having some neurological deficit, meaning the basic drawing, why he couldn't draw, let's say why he couldn't draw a face, a smiley face, why he couldn't pay attention, why he couldn't make eye contact. As a parent, you wonder. It wasn't like now that you have plenty of awareness. There's not a person out there that is not fully aware of what autism is. Even though we came such a long way from not knowing nothing at all until having a full awareness of how to detect the signs and symptoms, how to detect autism in any child or adult. Now, you cannot basically go symptoms to a local swimming pool, let's say, without seeing at least one child or one adult exhibiting the signs of autism. Now, I remember back then, my child is 28. By the way, I'm a founder of Gawa Center for Autistic Disability. It is a New Jersey 501c3 founded in 2015. Why did I found that organization? My career is a nurse. I've been in the nursing field for over 25 years. I've seen, why did I found that organization? Back and forth, different ways that we can improve this autism epidemic. Back then, it was 1 out of 45 children will be diagnosed with autism every year. And 50,000 of those children will become autistic adults every year. 50,000 of autistic children will transition into adulthood every year. We have a tsunami on our hands. And I'm going to start by saying thank you for Bob and Susan Wright. Bob and Suzanne Wright. Because I do remember when my own son was young, I used to have him in tow and listening to every single avenue that I can have to try to figure out what was going on with my own kid, to try to figure out what were the recent research, what were they talking about autism, what can I do, where can I go, who can I see? I knock into every single door. As a parent, you know, and don't you mess with any mother, I would not say autistic mother, any mother with a disabled child. For some reason, you have a fire in you. For some reason, you have this undying love to know that you have to go above and beyond. If you're normal, your child better should be normal, even more than you. When your child cannot speak, when your child doesn't know whether he's going to be burned, whether the stove is hot. If I touch this hot stove, I'm going to be burned. When your child does not know how to regulate the water temperature when he takes his shower, it's very, very scary. When your child, times after time, cannot distinguish between a stranger and somebody and a family member, it's hard. When your child, you're autistic, I'm just going to use autism because it's a rather difficult illness, I would say. It's not, I don't think it's a disease. I believe it's an illness. It's a very, very difficult way for any parent to go on not knowing what's going to happen. Because when my son leaves the house, I worry. When the bus calls me, I have to make sure, is he in the bus? Oh, he got off the bus. How did he maneuver? Did he get home safe? Because I'm going to tell you, we all know what's out there with the disabled. But when your faculty, when your mental faculty plays trick on you, because that's what autism sometimes does. I'm saying about my own kid. Sometimes his mind wanders. Sometimes he's in the daze. Sometimes you get disoriented. He may know what's going on, but it's like in this sleepy type of oblivion. And the minute you snap out of it, it's like, oh, where was I? Oh, I'm not supposed to do this. I'm going to take an example. My son is 28. He does everything normally with supervision. He takes his shower by himself. Now he learned to shave by himself. But again, I still have to be there. You know, he knows if he get cut, he knows that bacitracin is a medication. He knows to wipe it up, and not with alcohol, soap, and water, because I'm a nurse also. And you have to use, as a parent, you have to use every single avenue to give, to like help that autistic adult maneuver by himself, because you never know. When he gets a cut, he knows that I have to wash my hands. Of course, every day is repetition. In the bathroom, I have a big sign that said this: to wash your hands, you have to open the water. You have to regulate the water. Back in the top, I have with the nail polish, it's right there in the middle. Between cold and hot, I put the nail polish on it. So he knows I have to turn the water here to make it comfortable. If it's on the other side, it's going to be too hot. If it's on the other side, it's going to be too cold. And again, you never know. You have to keep watching him. That's why back about 25 years ago, when I was trying to figure out what was going on with my own kid, I was all over New York following every single person that would talk about autism. And I remember going to New York by Penn Station, and there was a gentleman called Dave Kirby. Dave Kirby, back then, when I remember, was a scientist. He had autistic children too, because all of us were trying to figure out what was going on with our own children. So Dave Kirby had this rally, an invitation. I got my own invite, and we went there. I brought Sean to him. And we were talking about, first, we tried to figure out if that was the vaccine that was causing, because that was the first theory. We tried to figure it out, and the mercury in the vaccine, but the thimerosal used to increase the half-life of the vaccine. And eventually, Eli Lilly recognized that back then, when the increased the amount of thimerosal that were used in the vaccine, because instead of lasting 10 years, they increased it to last 20 years. By so doing, it affects the effect of the thimerosal, which is a mercury-based substance we use in DPT, and DPT that you give to the children, and we also use it in the flu shot that we get. It's a mercury derivative that is best commonly used. But because the pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly increased the amount of thimerosal way back then to, it was basically monetary, because instead of lasting 10 years, they should last 20 years. By so doing, some children had a big reaction to that tiny bit of increase that was done in the thimerosal. I remember back then that we were linking it to that, because the sign and symptom of mercury poisoning. I'm not the scientist, I'm just relating what I did my own research. You should do your own homework. It doesn't take a big expert to figure it out. But eventually the government actually asked Eli Lilly to remove all those vaccines from the market, which they did. But they did not want to remove it right away because of the monetary issues. They eventually fizzled out all the vaccine that had the increase of thimerosal. And now we have those vaccines with the higher amount of thimerosal were all removed. But again, we still see the effect in our children. The effect is still there. But the problem now is we have so many autistic adults. It's a tsunami in this country. It's an epidemic. What are we doing with those autistic adults when they're children? The school system is great. You have the social worker, you have all the therapists, you have all the respiratory therapists, you have all the speech therapists. Boom, everybody's there. You have support. You have the case managers. You basically, your child has at least 3 or 4 people to his care plan. After he graduates from that school, I remember before my own child graduated, I would not tell you. I had so many case workers because I was there. My child is going to speak. He's still aphasic. He has no spoken word. Even though he's classified as a higher functioning, but still the words are not there. He may say yes or no, but talking, engaging in conversation, not there. And Sean can get up, and a stranger can say, oh, follow me. You will greatly follow that stranger. So those are the scariest part of us, parents. Those are our struggle. Those are our worries, that from back 28 years ago, 30 years ago, that we were talking about autism. The awareness is great. I will not, like I said, Bob, Susan Wright, Dave Kirby, all those outstanding individuals did so much into bringing this autism into every person's home. Many of us are aware of autism, are aware of different type of management. Now what we have now is a lot of day programs. We have group homes. We have day programs for adults. Children, there's still, there are a lot of schools. There are a lot of schools, a lot of institutions into research of autism, thanks to Bob and Susan Wright. Now, I mean, the United Nations, Susan Wright, thanks to, again, God bless Susan Wright, may she rest in peace. She did die last year, may she rest in peace. She did a lot thanks to her, actually, and her husband. I'm sitting here talking to you about autism. Thanks to their effort, I'm sitting here talking to you about autism. The fought. And now Autism Speak is still the leading agency when we're talking about autism. But this is 2018, and it's not enough. Autistic adults are still there. All the research that Autism Speak did, all the research that everybody else we're talking about autism did, is basically now that there's no cure for autism. We know that. And autism is not caused by vaccine. We know that. But what are we doing with our autistic, once children turn adult? What are we doing? Are the day program enough? When the bus pick up my kid, for me, I drop my kid, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, he's back. You have to have a structured activity for him at home. Cannot just watch TV all evening. After dinner, what does he do? So it's you, the parent. You are left with basically I wouldn't say no time for yourself, because nothing is greater than taking care of your kid, but we have to be realistic here. I know some families with 2 autistic adults. Imagine one having 2, 3. How are you going to go on with your own life? How do you go on working? How do you go on going to school? But I will tell you, I did it, and I keep doing it all, because the advice I will give you, any autistic mother or father out there, any autistic caregivers, you have to speak up. I remember when I was going to nursing school about 20 years ago, I couldn't because my son's bus came like 8 o'clock, and I had to be in school at 7:30. I walked straight into the director's office. I said, Mrs. Blank, this is Ernestine, this is my situation. I have a child that's half autism. I have a child that's sick. Now the bus comes at this time, and I cannot be in school at this time. Can you please do something for my cause? I want an education. I do not want you to deny me that education because I have a sick child. She was very understanding. I went to the school, coming 30 minutes later than everybody else. When I come, you go straight and sit there. I'm telling you what, you have to voice, you have to let people know, you have to do what you need. You have to be educated, you yourself, as a caregiver, as a mother in particular, or caregiver, because those children depend on you. Your education yourself, what you have in here, will allow you to better help your loved one. You cannot be full. You cannot provide the great care that I know you want to provide if you are not right up here yourself, because it is a lot. I know some families, you get up in the morning, you need to, depending of the level of that, the spectrum, depending on the level of the child's need. Some family are left with a little time for themselves, or if not, no time for themselves, because that particular area drains them out. And if you are not there, what is going to happen? You need to be there. You need to take care of yourself for your loved one to be okay. You need to take care of yourself for your sick one, to make sure you're there. You know they love you to death. You know, with any autism family, with any autism the individual, you know the degree of love. They may not know you per se some days, but trust me, they sense you, they smell you, and they appreciate every single thing you do. You know it. When you look at that smile they give you, if they're not able to talk, that smile they give when they see you says everything. my thought to you today is to continue caring. Continue what you have in your hand. You are not alone. It may seem that someday you may think that you are alone. You may think this is too much. It is too much sometimes. Talk to somebody. I remember, I have so many stories. I remember when Sean was about 5 years old. I was living, I believe in Somerset at that time. Went to ShopRite, local ShopRite. He was having problem learning to use the bathroom. I was tired, I gave up. 5 years old, you're not toilet trained. Every day, there's things everywhere. I'm not gonna tell you why. Finally, in the middle of ShopRite, in the grocery aisle, in the vegetable aisle, my son finally took down his pants and urinated right there. I was so shocked and yet so proud of him because that's what I've been trying to accomplish since he was 2. Now he finally he does it. But where did he do it? And the eyes of people looking as if that mother, what type of education did she give that child? But what can I say than to say, sorry, my child has autism. But nobody even knew what autism was. It was just like, look at, she doesn't know how to take care of your kid. But I was happy. I just held him, I hugged him. I said, you did a great job, Shirley. You did a very good job. And I told him slowly, you should not have done it here. But that's good. Another story in the same line. Because if you're thinking you are by yourself, you are not alone. We all have different stories, different degrees, but we have something that binds us. We have that common struggle. And you have the tenacity to deal with it. I remember when Sean was about 12 years old, because at that age you have the hormones and you have everything going on. He doesn't know what's going on with his body. The aggression tends to be there because the testosterone and the estrogen for the females, because we do have autistic females too, even though the rate is much, much lower than the male. With all those hormones, they don't know what to do, and many times he becomes, they let things out by being physically aggressive. And if you ever dealt with an autistic individual, they're the strongest ever. Sometimes you wonder where all that strength comes from. So I was driving. For some reason, he was in the back seat. He decided to jump from the front seat and just hold the steering wheel. We swerved off the road. I just kept praying, and we made it. For some reason, that was some mistake. You never know out of nowhere, but you have to keep the faith. That also passed, and everything else shall pass. But the strongest thing is to hold on. I'm going to say that it gets better, especially after if he passes those puberty age, the puberty season. It gets a little bit better because he's more settled. Now, my organization, I created that in 2015 because, like I was telling you, with everything that has been done with autism, I still see autistic adults homeless. There is a lot of homeless autistic adults in the street. And this is unacceptable, America. These are your children that you care so much about. These are the children that you put everything you put everything that you got into try to find the cause, to try to resolve this issue. Those children don't become Don't fizzle. The autism do not fizzle into your children. Those children are autistic adults. They are still autistic. They're just old. They're still autistic with adult characteristics. And the abuse, the neglect is much, much higher. And yet, when they turn 21 and graduate from high school, you see now they're adults. I remember when my son graduated from high school. It took me 2 years to find a program. Not because I wasn't prepared. I had everything in order. That time period, you visit different group homes, some you would not even put foot in. You go to their programs, you see, this is America. You see autistic adults in a situation where you wonder, what is this? I ran out of there. But I couldn't keep running because my child, my adult, he's still my child, he may be 28, but development and psychologically is around five years old. So my son is still home in need of care. I have to work. I have the bills to pay. Why am I telling you this? Because I know we have a problem in our hand. The day programs are not enough for autistic adults. The group home. What is group home anyway? You put them in groups in the home. What is the name group home? They're not enough. And actually, they are a way for us now to be able to maneuver because we have no other way. What if those disabled gentlemen and ladies were not there? Where will they be? And many of us parents, I'm going to turn 51. I'm not going to be there forever. What's going to happen? You know what I mean? Is my kid going to go to a day program, come back at 3 o'clock? If I'm not there, the system, you're going to take him. Why don't you do something now to help us, to help your own children? I remember talking to Mayor Rash Baraka from Newark about 2 years ago. I was in his office. I went with my organization, tried to have some funding. As we were talking, I was letting him know of the statistics of the autistic adult living home. He was like, but Ernestine, you're telling me that they live home. But it's because the family, the family, they have loving families. There are places out there for them to go. I said, Mayor, you may be right. You know why they live at home? Because some of us, caregivers, have nowhere. Some of those facilities you're talking about, we could not leave our children there. The workers are untrained. You go there, they are being abused daily, and nobody says anything because there's no law actually holding them accountable. You have to see them being abused for somebody to even call the police, and many times they do not even call the police. Look at your statistic of abuse of the disabled. So my telling him was, yes, they are home, not because we want them home. We want our children to be able to go to school, have a university education, have live normal, happy life. I remember my son is 28. He was born. He has his friends that were born the same age as him. I look at my friends' children that have the same age as my son. Don't you think I envy also the children? But again, I know that God gave me my son for a reason. And he had taught me so much. I will never trade it. The compassion that I see in him, and the way he made me change as a person, I will never, ever trade that. But I do want a better future for him. Now, I'm a nurse by trade. I've been a nurse for over 25 years, a registered nurse, with different capability within the health field. I've seen autism in different buildings. When autistic adults, let's say patient X, falls and have a fracture, they send him to the hospital. That group home or wherever he is, send him to the hospital. He gets surgery on his knee. After about 5 days in the hospital, they have to find a subacute. They have to find a facility for him to heal his knee. They have to send him into rehabilitation, a rehab facility. If you know anything about autism, just the hospital alone is challenging enough. You have different people coming in and out. You have the medications that basically is hard for them to take anyways because of behavior issue. When they go from the hospital to a subacute unit for therapy, for physical therapy, because that bone needs to be realigned, they will go to a nursing home, a long-term care facility. Many people in those facilities, many staff members, they are not trained to deal with individuals with behaviors. They are not trained to deal with autistic individuals, because I'm using autism in particular, because the spectrum is so wide, and the misunderstanding is so great. The level of that misunderstanding is so great. It's so easy to judge an autistic individual, call him lazy. Oh, it's just, he needs some spanking. He needs some, they did not talk to him well. He needs this, he needs that. That's what we have. When he comes to a long-term care facility for rehab, staff education, first of all, I'm going to take an example. About 3 years ago, there was a young man that came into my facility. Mind you, I work with one of the largest healthcare company in the whole United States of America. We have building in every single state, in the north, in the south, in the Midwest. We have building everywhere. This particular autistic adult came to my facility after he fell from. The chance for you is greater now for your child to be better or fully recovered. You have, depending on autism is a spectrum. Depending on where in that spectrum your child is. Keep up with the therapist. Keep up with the doctor. Do not match your word when you're talking about speaking up for your kid, because that's the voice. You have the power. Do not match your word. Ask questions. Just take advantage of every single opportunity you have to help your kid. Take it. We have people coming at the home. We have a lot of therapists, right? Take advantage of the therapists. And try to find out where your kid is and move from there. First of all, what is very important, treat your kid knowing their limitation and knowing what they can do. Do not say, oh, my child is sick. No, no, no. Say, you are my child. I'm going to give you the best knowledge that I have. You're going to do everything as I will teach my other kids to do. But I will know where your limitations are, and I will try to help you with those limitations. So my advice to that parent, my advice to that family, is not just embrace the news. Is hard, but there's, I would say, the light at the end of the tunnel right now. But to reach that light is a lot of work. And if not, you have the child. you're going to find strength. Just keep positive. It's positivity. Okay, I'll just say keep positive because that child depends on you. That would be my advice.
Great, thank you. So far, no more new questions, but we have a lot of love coming our way. A lot of people saying good things about Extreme.
Thank you. And I'm going to pick up on what I was talking about. I will pick up on the fact that we need to limit the strangers that coming into contact with our children or our loved ones. Now, hearing and understanding everything that I've talked to you about, this is what I kind of like came up with not a solution, because autism itself, they already said there's no cure, but it's up to us, the parents, it's up to us, caregivers, it's up to us, legal guardian, to advocate, to find ways that best fit what we deal with daily. Now, with my organization, I created it. I'm looking for partnership. I'm looking for investors. My ideas is just me as a mother. This is what I came up with. I came up with a system that we should mimic. A system that that's the same as the nursing homes law. Because in nursing homes, first of all, the government regulates nursing homes, right? They have the yearly the state inspection. In nursing home, to be employed in a nursing home, you have a drug test, you have the background check, and you have the education. Let's say you cannot just walk out the street and start taking care of patient X. No. To take care of patient X, either you have to be a CNA, a licensed practical nurse, a nurse, a registered nurse like myself, a doctor, a respiratory therapist, a physical therapist. You need to have some type of education. Not walk off the street and they give you some type of training and you start taking care of the most debilitated, the most fragile patients, I would say, because autistic adults are just that. They're children in itself. When they're children here, we jump to help. When the autistic adult, they became, oh, that man. There's somebody cautioned that man. I had to like snap and say, oh, he really is a man. But I know he's a 4-year-old boy in a man's body. And that is the scariest part of it. So my solution was to mimic the nursing homes law, the way nursing homes do. We need to go after our state Congress people because they need to change the laws. What the group home actually can function, but they need to have a subacute unit. I would say they need to have a subacute unit. A group home can have 120 patients or even 50 patients. All you need is maybe like a 10-bed subacute, because not every day is that patient going to fall, or maybe every day with that person going to need an IV medication. But just in case, you need to have that in the building. That means those group homes should be larger than they are. That group home should fulfill some requirement to be able to function. Meaning, resident A that I was talking to you about that fell and broke the leg, after the surgery should not have gone to a nursing home. After the surgery should have been back to that facility in the subacute unit getting physical therapy for his knee. Meaning, the staff of that facility are familiar with the resident. The staff in that facility already have a care plan designed for that resident. Meaning patient that was disrobing, they already know, oh, that Brian, he likes to just go, to just be free after 8. They know the patient, right? So after 8, Brian does what he does in his own environment. In the morning, the physical therapist will come in the subacute, fix the, have therapy for the leg. And Brian, once recovered, Brian will go back to his room in the same setting. The lab people will come in the morning. That facility will have to require to have a contract with those X-ray places, with those diagnostic testing places. So Brian doesn't have to get up from that place to go to Pum Pum to get his X-ray done. The X-ray will come to Brian's facility and check his leg. The lab tech will come to Brian's facility to draw his blood. And every single time, that will limit the exposure, that will limit the opportunity for our Brian to be abused. I don't know if that makes sense. That just that. And by so doing, the money the group home get from Medicaid and supplement is going to be the same money, if not more. The day programs will still be day programs, but when Brian goes from his facility, Brian can still go to his day program, does whatever he wants to do, and come back to his facility in the evening, live a normal life. Brian can go to work because in that facility we have different type, different category, okay? We have subacute for acutely ill residents. Like one time, I was even surprised, one of the doctors I work with asked me, Ernestine, let me ask you, what will happen if you have an autistic adult with HIV? I was very surprised. I'm frankly disappointed. I said, what do you mean? He said, what will happen? I said, well, an autistic adult, what is it for? Is autistic? Yes. Is sick? Yes. What is part of us, right? He was like, oh, that was just a question that came into mind. I said, I'm very disappointed from you, Doc. I'm very, very disappointed. He said, I just wanted to test you. I said, of course, So that facility is for every single person, no discrimination. If you are an autistic adult, this is a home away from home. Let's say God decides to take me tomorrow. At least I know that is a place that I can say, okay, at least Sean is being taken care of. Caregiver strength. In nursing home, we have respite. Many families come there, you want to go and take a break from everything you do, you want to take a break, you go to the facility, you can leave your kid for 10 days, 15 days, go to a little bit of cleansing for yourself, because you have to remember, if you're not good, your child will sense it and it's not going to be good. And he needs you to be good. He needs your strength. So you can go to the facility for respite care. Put Brian there, 2 weeks, go, relax, knowing that he's at home, knowing that the care he gets over there is no different from what you would give him at home. That's the option, We shouldn't be taking care of our older population, and yet our younger population are there, and we know about this autism thing. It's not a fancy word. I remember last year, this year, or 2018, at the United Nations, we have actress Dakota Fanning. She spoke about playing an autistic individual or somebody playing an autistic. And this is not a movie. This is our daily life. I was pleased that she was talking about it. But again, this is reality. We do not need to play it on TV anymore. That was way before, when Susan and Bob Wright were trying to find out what was autism. Now we know what it is. And the cases are still coming. Let's stop playing it at the movies. This is reality. We need to find a solution. And that solution for me is part of trying to find a way to better the situation that we have now. That's for me. It's a way of knowing that, sometimes in the autistic lingo, there's one that goes, what will happen to me? What will happen to my son if something happens to me? But I'm going to tell you, whenever I see that lingo, it eats in me. It's like somebody took my heart and turned it in pieces. I do not want to see that lingo. And yet it's true, but you have to keep positive. You know what I think will happen to me, to my son, if something happens to me? I hope that he will live even better. God will send him an angel that will better take care of him. That will take care of him even more than I ever taken care of him. Each time I see that lingo, I'm like, he will just be fine. I have to say that to myself to be able to keep moving on. And you have to say that to yourself also, that he will be fine. But we have to work on it. We have to start the job. We have to start the job. After 30 years, after all this year, we shouldn't be. Now, autism is stagnant. Autism Speak is there. They did a lot back then. Now, all I see is a gross salary. My theory is not for me, myself. My theory is we get all that, the government regulation in place, and anybody with money can open a center, just like we do now in the nursing homes. We're looking for partnership. We're looking for donations. We're looking for grant. We can model. We can start having those facilities everywhere. And right now, I know a facility is similar, but just the price of intake, it's about $5,000 out of pocket after they take everything out. After they take the Medicaid, first of all, they don't even take Medicaid, so you have to have private insurance. And for some reason, God have blessed some of the autistic family to be a little bit well off than others. I'm going to go, not off topic, it's still autism. I'm going to talk about somebody that I deeply care about without even knowing the young man. When, I forgot her name, when John Travolta lost his son, that young boy, Jet Travolta, he was almost the same age as my son. And that was the time when I was trying to figure out what my son has. That was the time, my son is 28 now, he must have been maybe like 29 or 30. That was the time when I knew he had something. But for some reason, the physiological aspect, the physiological view of Jack Travolta reminded me of my son. And I keep hearing here and there. Sometimes I will find the title, oh, he has autism. For that alone, I gravitate to every single article I can find about him because I wanted to know more about my own kid. I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know what medication to take, what medication to put him on. I believe he has seizures. Sean unfortunately does not have seizures, but the physical characteristics are like similar. My heart sank without knowing that family when I heard of that young boy's death. I was so hurt without even knowing him. I was hurt without, I didn't know him personally. I know of his story, and I related to that family. Because of my own kid, I related to the family. So did not just lose their son. Their son impacted. I just wanted to let them know that their son impacted me also, because his life got short, kind of like slow me a little bit into try to find out what was happening to my own son. That was just a parenthesis that I wanted to make, telling you that autism right now, we shouldn't be figuring out where to go with an autistic adult. We should have a plan. We should already have a way. It's not going away. By not talking about it, it's not going away. The scientists, the testing, there's enough scientific schools there. We still have autistic adults to deal with. And I'm sick and tired seeing them on the street being homeless. I'm sick and tired going to homes and see parents of autistic adults drained because of the tremendous amount of work that they do every day. We should do better. We should do better. Thank you. I do understand that we have a question, and we're going to take the question, Chris.
Yes, we have a question from Vicky. So, what inspired you to become involved?
Hi, Vicky. I think you may have missed the first part. And what inspired me to become involved? I have an autistic son. My son is 28. And I have been involved from the beginning. Like I was telling you, I followed Bob and Suzanne Wright when my son was about 3 years old, when he could not talk. I followed Dave Kirby. I can say I'm a student of Dave Kirby. I don't know the man. But I have literature after literature. I don't know what happened. I don't hear about him anymore. I have literature of Dave Kirby, following him, or the autism work. Back then, we used to have this. I used to belong to an organization called Cure Autism Now, or CAN. Under that organization, what you asked me what caused me to be involved. That was the need to find out what was going on with my kid was my force. What caused me to be involved? Because if you're not involved, you're not going to know. Your kid is all you got. My son has no spoken word. I'm his voice. I have to be involved. That's what caused me to be involved. And again, on the Cure Autism Now, I had, because they used to have works. When they do the works, you can subscribe to the work, you buy mugs, you buy a t-shirt and everything, and have your group. My group used to call Sean's Calls after my son Sean. So I used to go out and send a memo to people, donate to the Cure Autism Now on the Sean Calls and all these things. And I'm talking to you of things I used to do over 25 years ago. Now when they talk about autism work, it's like nobody cares. Back then, we used to have t-shirts, we used to go walk, we used to do different things to find out. That was my motivation for us, to find out what was going on with our children. But now, we're all aware of it. Nobody is talking about it anymore. The doctor will tell you, oh, he has autism. Of course, the school has ABA and all this therapy and everything. And you're going to have help when they're young. But we're talking about those same children aging out. 50,000 of those children transitioning into autistic adult every year. 50,000 is a big number. 50,000 is an epidemic. It's too hard. It's a tsunami. We can no longer ignore it. That's why I'm here. And what caused me to be involved, I said, was seeing my own son dealing with his struggles, being his mother, and the only spoken voice that he got. Because even at the meetings, they would say, oh, Sean, what's going on now? Sean will not tell you anything. Oh, Sean is an adult. You have to have legal guardianship to be able to speak for him. Of course, and legal guardianship is another issue. And my hope for this is to continue. I'm still a night nurse. I work at night. I do have 5 children. But I will not stop until we together find a way. I need sponsorship. I need investors. I need people to buy into this cause. I need people to know that it's not for me. I just want something different from what we have now. I just want our young adults to be treated fairly. And in that spectrum, and with the facility I'm talking to you about modeling after the long-term care, we're going to talk about it some more because this is a beginning of a conversation. And we're going to go somewhere with this conversation. We will go somewhere with this conversation. And we're going to start by going to our senator, our congressman, to try to lobby and change some of the laws that they have concerning autistic adults. As of right now in New Jersey, Sean came back about 2 weeks ago with a paper saying that Governor Murphy, which we just elected, is actually sitting on one of the causes that would allow those agencies that we have now, those daycare agencies, some funding to be able to even have your autistic adult kid go to those day programs like they do from 9 to about 3 o'clock, from 9 a.m. to about 3, for them to also have a little bit of what, I will not call it education, some are better than others. Of course, have that little break. Now he's sitting on that money. If we model after the nursing home, whatever the nursing home gets, all the laws attributed to the nursing home would automatically be attributed to autistic adults. Let's say we need to find an age gap. That's what I'm struggling about. Maybe tomorrow, together we will find an age gap. I do believe right after the transition from the graduate from high school, usually in those programs, they give them up to 21. Right after 21, they can be admitted to those centers. They can go from 21 to maybe 45 or even 65 because education, there's no cap on it, on education. And after that, they can go back to regular nursing home, but at least we know that we provided them with an opportunity. We provided them with some education. And those centers, we have educational services. Those centers, we have social skills. Those centers, we have computers. Those centers, I'm talking about mandated requirement for those centers. They will have computers for the education because autistic, the young children, the young adults, there's no reason for them to be sitting in bed all day long in nursing homes because there's nowhere to go. And in some instances, when the hospital discharge autistic adult, there's nowhere for them to go. Because you cannot just walk in a group home and say, oh, this is an autistic adult, take him. My own son, through DDD, has been in the waiting list since he was like 15 years old, and he's 28 years old now. You know what number? He's like number 1,000 something in the waiting list for DDD, for some type of home sharing home facility. That I'm just telling you, what our government has is a lot in its plate. When I get a request from DDD, I'm going to talk about DDD. Most of the case workers are the nicest people ever, but they are so overworked. The caseload is here. They don't know what to do. I'm telling you, as an autistic mother, and I know a lot of them. Once a case worker send me a note that says, pam, 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 my name is this, and I'm your son's new case manager. This is my number. Please contact me. Before you get the chance to contact that case worker, you already send another letter. This is a different case worker. You call. What happened? Oh, she was reassigned. The caseload is tremendous. They need help themselves. And we have to start acknowledging. They're not going to come and tell us that they need help. All we have now is different private companies saying that those case workers need help. They're opening the agencies left and right. Anybody with $2 will open an agency. Any family with $2 will make a two family to have 2 or 3 autistic adults living with them. It's unacceptable. My kid is not going to come to live with you because you need $1. You're not trained to handle my kid. You're not trained in emergency to do something. He's going to come there and you're going to have money that you're looking for. But do you know how to do CPR if my kid needs one? My son doesn't swim. If you go to swimming pool, you see lots of autistic adults right there. I'm telling you, you cannot go to any local pool. Do you know how to resuscitate somebody who doesn't know how to swim? I know it's better for you to do that because the case world is this long. But I'm telling you, I'm just bringing what I know to you in the hope that we're going to find something better than what we have now. Okay, thank you. It's been very nice talking to you. I thank you for listening. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be in front of you today. I'm going to thank my son for giving me the strength. It's not easy. I'm going to thank every single family, the family that I talk to, that I live through you. I know what you go through. Your struggles are my struggles. We understand who you are. We understand your love for your children, your love for your cousin, because I cannot talk to anybody. If I talk to 5 people, 3 out of those 5 people will know at least somebody who has autism. They will have a cousin, a brother, or the kid who's, oh, I have a kid who's autistic. You cannot talk to anybody without finding a common link. And together we are stronger. Please, my hope is that this goes from my heart to the heart of everyone out there lacking compassion. This is to you who did not know who my son was. This is to you that sees my son when I'm not there and I have a different face. This is for the hope. This is hoping that you will give him a chance. When you see him tomorrow, do not say, hey, pass there. Hey, stop that. Do not yell. Say, Sean, hi, how are you? Treat him as you would treat anyone else. And that will be my message until we sit in this again and talk about a day for autism live. Thank you.